Welcome to AP Statistics. Today we are exploring Topic 1.12, Potential Problems with Sampling. Our learning objective is to identify potential sources of bias in sampling methods. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to identify various sources of bias that can occur when we collect data. Understanding these pitfalls is crucial because even the most advanced statistical analysis cannot fix a sample that was collected poorly. Let's define bias. In statistics, bias is a systematic error in the sampling procedure. It results in a statistic being consistently larger or consistently smaller than the actual population parameter you are trying to estimate. It's not just a one-time mistake, it's a flaw in the process that pulls your results away from the truth in a specific direction. Let's start with a very common issue: voluntary response bias. This occurs when a sample consists entirely of people who choose themselves to be part of the study. Think about a radio host asking listeners to call in and vote on a controversial new law. People with strong opinions, especially negative ones, are much more likely to volunteer their time to respond. Because the sample isn't chosen randomly, it doesn't represent the general population. It only represents the people who felt strongly enough to participate. This is a non-random sampling method that almost always introduces bias. Another significant issue is undercoverage bias. Undercoverage occurs when the sampling method fails to include a specific part of the population or makes them less likely to be chosen. Imagine a survey conducted only via landline telephones. In the modern world, many younger people or lower-income households rely exclusively on cell phones. If the survey only calls landlines, those cell phone-only individuals have zero or a very low chance of being selected. If their opinions differ from landline users, the resulting statistic will be biased because a segment of the population was literally left out of the reach of the sampling method. Next, let's discuss non-response bias. This is often confused with undercoverage, but there is a key difference. Non-response bias occurs when individuals are actually chosen for the sample, but they cannot be reached or refuse to participate. Imagine you randomly select 100 people to participate in a survey about work-life balance. You call them during the day, but 50 of them don't answer because they are busy at work. The people who did answer may have very different schedules or opinions than the people who didn't. If the non-respondents differ significantly from the respondents in ways that are important to the study, your results will be biased. To keep it clear, undercoverage means they were never on the list to begin with. Non-response means they were on the list, but we didn't get their data. Finally, let's look at response bias. This is a broad category where the actual data collected is wrong or pushed in a certain direction. Response bias occurs when the responses provided by individuals tend to differ from the true value. This can happen for several reasons. The most common is question wording. Consider these two questions. Question 1. Do you support a tax increase for schools? Question 2. Do you support investing in our children's future by providing schools with necessary funding? The second version uses leading language. People are more likely to say yes to investing in children than to a tax increase, even if they mean the same thing. Another form is when people lie to appear better. Imagine a survey question asking, "How often do you floss?" An individual might think, "Once a month," but check the box for every day. If you ask people if they voted or how often they exercise, they tend to over-report good behaviors and under-report bad ones. The person asking the questions can also influence the answer. If a police officer in uniform asks a teenager if they have ever broken the law, the response might be different than if a peer asked the same question. In all these cases, the measurement process itself systematically pulls the result away from the truth. To wrap up, let's review the common thread between all these problems. 1. Voluntary response where people choose themselves. 2. Undercoverage where a group is left out. 3. Non-response where selected people don't participate. And 4. Response bias where there are inaccurate or influenced answers. Notice that non-random sampling methods, like convenience sampling or voluntary response, are the biggest culprits for introducing these biases. They don't use random chance to select individuals, which means every individual in the population does not have a fair shot at representing the whole. Goal check. Can you identify potential sources of bias? Do you understand how they affect the statistic? Remember, when you are analyzing a study, always ask who was left out, who refused to answer, and how was the question asked. If you can identify these issues, you are well on your way to mastering the foundations of AP statistics. Now we've successfully learned to identify the systematic errors that can lead to biased results in sampling.